Leader Bernard was one of the richest men in Nigeria. He owned a massive company called Bernard Organization of Groups, with many branches across the United States. He changed into recognized for his wealth. However, even extra for his expertise, everyone respected him, but there changed into something that made Leader Bernard even greater proud than all his cash. His handiest son, Larry, were analyzing medicinal drug abroad for numerous years. He become clever type, and really handsome tall with smooth brown pores and skin curly hair, and a charming smile that would melt any female's heart each. Lady in town desired him. However, Larry turned into no longer interested in fake love. He wanted something real, a person who would really like him for who he changed into now, not for his father's cash. One sunny afternoon, Chief Bernard called his son on the smartphone. "My son, I am happy with you," he said with a deep voice full of pleasure. "You know you promised me you'll get married without delay after your graduation." Larry laughed softly. "Don't worry, Dad, I can search for a terrific female once I come again home. I accept as true with you," Chief Bernard said. "But I have something to tell you. I have already got eyes on ladies. They may be both hardworking, educated, respectful, and delightful. They work in my company. I assume either of them will make a very good spouse for you." Larry raised his eyebrow. Dad, you want to pick spouse for me already?" Chief Bernard chuckled. "I'm not forcing you. I am just helping you. You may nevertheless pick who you need. But at the least, keep in mind them, okay, Dad?" Larry spoke back. "Permit me come home first." But as he dropped the decision, a funny idea entered Larry's thoughts. What if I am going home and act like a poor guy? Perhaps a safety protect in Dad's organization. That manner I will realize who simply loves me without knowing my actual identity. He smiled to himself and nodded. "Sure, this is the first-class way. I need actual love, now not fake love that ends while the money finishes." The next day at the office, Leader Bernard sat in his massive leather-based chair, ready patiently. He had deliberate the whole thing in his heart. And now, it became time to begin. He pressed the intercom. "Tell Sandra to return to my workplace," he stated. A couple of minutes later, Sandra walked in. "Desirable morning, sir," she greeted along with her normal warm smile. "Accurate morning. Sandra, please sit," Chief Bernard responded. Sandra sat wondering what the meeting become about. Leader Bernard leaned forward. "I want to inform you something critical," he began. "My son, Larry, is set to graduate from scientific school abroad. He's coming return to Nigeria soon." Sandra smiled. "Wow, it really is wonderful, sir. Congratulations." "Thank you, my expensive." Leader Bernard stated. "Now pay attention. I've been looking you. You are respectful, knowledgeable, kind, and hardworking." Sandra appeared shyly at the floor. "I believe you can make a terrific wife for my son," he endured. "I didn't call you right here to pressure you, but I need you to be yourself whilst he comes. If his heart chooses you, I'll be very happy." Sandra changed into quiet for a moment, then she smiled. "I apprehend, sir. Thanks for considering me. You could go now," Leader Bernard stated lightly. Sandra stood up. "Thank you, sir." She walked out of the workplace, nevertheless amazed by using what she had just heard. Now, not long after Jessica got here, she walked in optimistically and greeted, "Excellent morning, sir." "Proper morning, Jessica. Take a seat down." Jessica sat and waited. "I want to share something unique with you," Leader Bernard began. "My son Larry will quickly graduate from medical college and return to Nigeria." Jessica's eyes brightened. "Oh, this is first-rate news, sir." Leader Bernard smiled. "Sure, and I have had my eyes on you for a while. You are beautiful, smart, hardworking, and you deliver yourself nicely." Jessica smiled proudly. "I accept as true with you'll be a good fit for my son. So I called you to let you know he might be around soon. Just be yourself. If he likes you, I will be glad." Jessica stood up. "Speedy, thank you a lot, sir. I promise to make you proud properly." Chief Bernard nodded. "You could cross." As Jessica walked out, her mind changed into already flying. "So I'd grow to be a billionaire's wife. I need to appearance my high-quality normal now weeks." Later, Larry ultimately arrived in Nigeria. Leader Bernard became watching for him at the airport with open hands. The instant he noticed his son, he pulled him into a large hug. "My son," he shouted happily, "you are eventually here." Larry laughed. "Yes, Dad, I'm returned for accurate." That nighttime, after a massive welcome dinner at home, Larry sat with his father within the living room. Chief Bernard checked out him and stated, "Larry, I already spoke to the two young ladies. I told you approximately their names are Sandra and Jessica. I spoke to them one after the other, and that they both agreed to satisfy you." Larry raised his eyebrow, similar to that. "Yes," his father smiled. "They're both excited. They are knowledgeable, hardworking, and exquisite. I've observed them for years." Larry leaned again in his chair and rubbed his chin. Then he said something that made Leader Bernard pause. "Dad, I don't need to show up wealthy. I need to pretend to be a bad protection defend." Leader Bernard sat up immediately. "What did you say? I'm severe." Larry stated, "If I display up looking rich or knowledgeable, they'll only like me. Because of the money, I need to see who virtually loves me without understanding who I'm." Chief Bernard laughed for a long time. "You are similar to me. Whilst I used to be young, however. Are you certain you want to try this?" "Sure, Dad." Larry nodded. "Deliver me a safety uniform, permit me live in the boys' quarters, and work at the organization gate. I want to start small, look at them intently, and spot who has a true heart." Leader Bernard smiled proudly. "You're wise, my son. I'll set up the entirety, but bear in mind, irrespective of what occurs, do not deliver yourself away." Larry grinned. "Don't fear, Dad. This may be amusing." By way of the next morning, Larry was wearing a diminished blue safety uniform, a face cap, and rubber sandals. He carried a brush and a bottle of water. No person should understand him. He looked like an everyday security man. The workers walked past him without even looking at his face, except for one man or woman, Sandra. She smiled at him and greeted with courtesy, "Precise morning, ogre protection." Larry smiled, lower back, "Correct morning, madam." But Jessica then again walked past him like he became invisible. She didn't even look at his face. Larry chuckled to himself. This is going to be exciting. A few days later, things started out to alternate in her Bernard group of corporations. Jessica now walked across the office like a queen. Her heels clicked loudly on the tiled floor. Her perfumes stuffed every room she entered, and her shoulders were usually raised excessive like a peacock. She even commenced performing like she was already married to the billionaire's son. One afternoon, during lunch spoil, she sat with of her near buddies inside the office cafeteria. She crossed her legs and stated loudly, "A few human beings on this company better learn how to speak to me with respect. Very soon I'll be the boss's daughter in regulation." Her pals gasped and clapped. "Are you extreme, Jessica?" Jessica smiled proudly. "Of route, Chief Bernard already spoke to me. It is just a matter of time before his son places a hoop in this finger." She persevered. "And when I get married, I will inform my husband to sack a few people on this organization, in particular those gossipers and backbitters who speak nonsense in the back of my lower back." Her pals laughed, not knowing she turned into very extreme. She even began giving orders like she become a manager. One morning, she walked past the reception and saw Sandra speaking with some other staff. Jessica frowned and walked as much as her. "Sandra, am I able to communicate to you?" she asked in a proud voice. Sandra smiled softly. "Of route." They each walked outdoor to a quiet corner. Jessica folded her arms and said, "Sandra, I assume you should prevent trying so tough. You and that I both recognize you are no longer my competition." Sandra regarded harassed. "What do you mean?" Jessica rolled her eyes. "Come on, stop pretending. We both know Leader Bernard spoke to us. But allows, be honest, you're no longer in my class. I am more elegant, greater, beautiful. And that I get dressed higher. You cannot compete with me." Sandra blinked and shook her head slowly. "I don't know what you're talking approximately." She stated frivolously, "I'm no longer in any opposition with you, Jessica. You may have him if you want." Jessica scoffed. "Appropriate your sooner or later speaking feel. However, one extra factor," Sandra added. "How are you going to be preventing over a man who hasn't even arrived yet? We don't know if he's going to like you or me, or maybe a person else. So what is the point?" Jessica hissed. "He will like me. Why wouldn't he? I am the whole thing a rich guy desires." Sandra smiled in a well-mannered way. "Okay, then properly success." She walked away, leaving Jessica boiling with anger. Meanwhile, Larry, nevertheless dressed as a security protect, become looking the whole thing. He swept the compound slowly and smiled quietly on every occasion Jessica passed by means of showing off. He observed how she looked down on different staff, how she shouted at cleaners, and the way she by no means greeted him. But Sandra, she nonetheless greeted him every morning. She even as soon as introduced him a bottle of cold water on a warm afternoon here. She said with a grin, "It's very hot today. You need this." Larry took it and smiled. "Thanks very lots, no problem. You're doing a great activity," she spoke back and walked off. Larry checked out the bottle in his hand and smiled again. This lady has a coronary heart. One Friday morning, Jessica stormed into the office with loud heels and a glowing face. She wore a glittery red robe, gold earrings, and thick makeup. She walked directly to the HR department and stood at the doorway together with her palms on her hips. "Excuse me, all of us," she shouted. The complete workplace went quiet. A few team of workers looked up from their desks. Others peeped from in the back of their computers. Even the cleaners stopped running. Jessica cleared her throat. "I've a statement to make," she said with pride. "In case some of you do not recognize, I will soon be the daughter in regulation of Leader Bernard." "Yes, the Chief Bernard." Humans exchanged harassed appears. She continued, "So in case you understand, you've been gossiping about me. Just recognize your time on this corporation is sort of over. As soon as I marry his son, I'm able to ensure all the terrible eggs are eliminated." Mouths dropped open. Sandra, who turned into quietly typing her record, paused and regarded up. Jessica became towards her. "And Sandra, I'm hoping you subsequently normal the fact I am the selected one. Please prevent following me up and down, such as you need to beg for the location. It's embarrassing." Sandra stood up slowly. "Jessica, I do not know why you hold bringing up my name. I'm no longer following you, and I'm not competing with you. Please recognize yourself." Jessica laughed loud and clapped her fingers. "Oh, negative, Sandra. Nevertheless, pretending. Do not worry, you may be invited to the wedding. You can even be my bridesmaid if you behave." All people inside the workplace went quiet now, not understanding what to say. Jessica walked out proudly like a queen. Day after today at paintings, Jessica arrived on the corporation gate in her regular dramatic style, heels clicking, handbag swinging, face complete of delight as she approached the entrance. Larry, who was on duty in his easy security uniform, advanced with politeness and opened the gate. "Suitable morning, madam," he greeted with a mild nod. Jessica stopped and checked out him with disgust. "Are you mad?" she snapped. "Do not ever use that your smelling mouth to speak to me once more." Larry blinked, shocked. "What did I do? Did I ask you for greeting?" she shouted. "You, this negative security boy. Do not ever greet me again. Preserve your sorry greetings to yourself." Larry's calm face slowly modified. He took a breath, then stated, "You know what? You are too full of yourself simply due to the fact the boss stated his son would possibly marry you. You've began feeling like the boss's wife. How desperate can you be?" Jessica gasped. "What did you simply say?" "You heard me," Larry stated firmly. "You insult humans, stroll around such as you already married a person you do not even recognize. Inform me, do you even recognize how he seems? Do you have got his wide variety? Have you ever spoken to him?" Jessica's mouth opened, however words didn't pop out. She became embarrassed and indignant. "How dare you?" she finally screamed. "You terrible boy, I will make sure you lose this activity. The boss need to hear approximately this today." Larry shrugged. "I don't care." Jessica's face twisted with anger. "You will remorse this if the boss doesn't sack you. I'll inform my husband to sack you the moment we marry." Larry laughed. "It's if he even chooses you." Jessica exploded. "Useless aspect, just like your foolish father and your mother who gave start to a canine like you." Larry's smile disappeared. That one cut deep, but in preference to reacting, he stood immediately, checked out her with quiet anger, and stated, "You have proven your true self." Then he walked away. Jessica, fuming like boiling water, marched immediately into the constructing and barged into Chief Bernard's workplace. "Leader, you need to sack that vain security man," she shouted. Leader Bernard raised his head slowly from his table, surprised. "Relax, Jessica, what is the trouble?" Jessica started out shouting, "He insulted me, he disrespected me, he even laughed at me and my future husband. He said, 'You're silly and my mother is a fool.'" Chief Bernard blinked, bowled over. He said, "I am silly." Jessica stammered, realizing she had blended her words. No, now not you, sir. I suggest his father is foolish." "That is what I supposed. However, the boy is too proud for a bad man." Leader Bernard kept silent for a moment, then he looked at her and said flippantly, "Jessica, I'm sorry, however I cannot sack him." Jessica stood up straight. Sir, what do you imply? Why? Leader Bernard folded his fingers on the table. You won't recognize Larry is a very good, respectful, and mild younger guy. If he spoke to you, there need to be a reason. I understand him. Jessica turned into shaking in anger. But he insulted me. Still, I can now not sack him. Leader Bernard, replied Jessica. Seemed stressed. Are you defensive him due to the fact he's your favorite worker? Leader Bernard sighed. It's not about that. I will speak to him myself. But I can now not sack him. Jessica hissed loudly and stormed out of the office. As she walked down the hallway, she started out questioning. Why would Leader Bernard defend a bad protection man so strongly? What's so special approximately him? Meanwhile, again at the gate, Larry stood quietly looking into the sky, his coronary heart become heavy now, not due to Jessica's insults. However, due to the fact she had proven her real man or woman, she insulted a person she did not even recognize, or even cursed his parents. What if she knew I used to be the boss's son? He shook his head slowly. That nighttime at home, Chief Bernard sat in the dwelling room studying the newspaper, while Larry walked in still carrying his safety uniform. He appeared worn out, however there has been a grin on his face. Welcome, my son. Leader Bernard said, decreasing the paper. How was work these days? Larry sank into the sofa and chuckled. Work become complete of drama, Dad. Chief Bernard looked at him and said lightly, Larry, are you no longer accomplished with this recreation yet? Larry chuckled. No, Father, I have never even started yet. Leader Bernard blinked. You have not started? I'm taking part in the drama, Larry answered, giggling. It is like an unfastened cinema show. I don't even need popcorn. His father laughed too, then leaned back. So how was the show nowadays? Larry shook his head. Jessica is something else, Dad. That girl could be very rude. She talks like she owns the sector. Do you understand? She insulted you and late mother today. Leader Bernard's smile disappeared. Yes, I know. Larry's eyes widened. You knew already? Chief Bernard nodded slowly. She got here into my office and lied to my face. She said you insulted the parents of her future husband. Are you able to imagine? Larry scoffed. That lady is shameless. She referred to as me a bad boy, said I'm vain, and that she can inform her husband to sack me after they marry. Leader Bernard shook his head slowly. But she would not know the bad boy she's shouting at is the equal guy she's dreaming to marry. Larry laughed once more. Father, it's no longer even the worst component. She said my father is foolish, and that mom was an idiot for giving birth to a person like me. Leader Bernard frowned. She stated that out loud. Yes, Larry nodded. She turned into so indignant that the insult simply flew out of her mouth. Leader Bernard sighed deeply. That female has no domestic education, and that I nearly chose her for my son. Larry shook his head. I'm happy you allowed me to do that. Sincerely, this hide is teaching me lots now. I see who human beings truly are. She lied to me. That lady looked me in the attention and lied. She's very mannerless, Dad, Larry said severely. She appears down on humans, especially those she thinks are negative. Chief Bernard rubbed his brow and sighed deeply. I'm disenchanted. When I spoke to her that day, she appeared calm and respectful, but now I see that pride and wickedness are hiding inside her. She would not deserve to be around people who recognize themselves, Larry said. And she would not even recognize I'm the man she's been bragging about. Leader Bernard shook his head. She said she would inform her husband to sack you. Larry chuckled. Yes, she has already packed herself into marriage with me, and now she's throwing threats up and down. Father and son burst into laughter. Leader Bernard looked at him with a proud smile. You are wise, Larry. This check is working. At least now we understand her authentic person. Larry nodded. However, I have to preserve the game. I want to see how far she will go. I also need to observe Sandra closely. That lady has a great coronary heart. I have seen it too, Chief Bernard stated. She in no way shouts, by no means suggests off, and she or he treats humans with kindness. There may be something approximately her, Larry brought. She respects me even though she thinks I'm only a safety guard. She as soon as gave me cold water on a sunny day and told me I was doing an awesome activity. Leader Bernard smiled. That's the form of girl who brings peace right into a domestic. Precisely. Larry said. They each sat in silence for a moment. Then Leader Bernard stood up. All right, my son, the degree is yours. Keep your drama. However, while the time comes, screen yourself like a king. Larry smiled. I will, Dad. The next day at paintings, the environment in Bernard organization of agencies turned into strangely worrying. By using 8:00 a.m., everybody had arrived and settled at their desks, but whispers had been flying round. A message had long passed out early that morning from the HR office. All body of workers ought to record to the convention room by means of 9:00 a.m. sharp. Leader Bernard has a vital announcement to make. People looked at each different and asked questions. Is someone getting sacked? Is he promoting someone? Is he finally introducing his son? Nobody knew the answer. Even Jessica, who had now calmed down a touch after yesterday's drama, sat at her desk. She whispered to considered one of her friends, perhaps that is the day I'll be officially brought because the wife-to-be. Her pal giggled, permits wait and see. Sandra alternatively sat quietly at her table typing up her weekly record. She wasn't moved with the aid of 9:00 a.m. sharp. The entire group of workers amassed in the big air-conditioned conference room, the long glass desk, changed into surrounded by means of chairs. Everybody sat quietly, eyes centered on the front, where in a small level stood. A few moments later, the door opened. Leader Bernard walked in dressed in his signature white agbada and red cap. His on-foot stick tapped lightly on the tiled floor as he made his manner to the front. Everybody stood up and greeted. Suitable morning, sir. He waved lightly. Proper morning. My children, please sit down. The room went silent as he began to speak. I want to thank all of you for your difficult work, loyalty, and willpower to this employer. Chief Bernard commenced for over 30 years. I have built this commercial enterprise with sweat, ache, and prayers. These days, we are one in every of the biggest corporations in Nigeria. There has been a soft spherical of applause. However, he endured. The time has come for me to step aside. Gasps stuffed the room. A few personnel whispered, step aside. Sure, Chief Bernard said with a gentle smile. I have officially retired beginning from today. I will now not be coming to the office. I can be spending extra time at home resting and playing the lifestyles. I worked difficult for. The room went quiet once more. But sir, who can be in price now? One of the department heads requested cautiously. Chief Bernard nodded. Top question. My son, as many of you know, is studying medication overseas. He'll soon graduate and go back domestic. However, till then someone else will be acting as the agency consultant on my behalf. Human beings seemed around stressed. Jessica's coronary heart jumped. Perhaps it is me. Perhaps he is about to call my name. Leader Bernard regarded around the room and smiled. Don't worry, he stated. The man or woman taking over for now has already been chosen. You may all recognize in due time. The character may be nearer than you think. He paused. Jessica raised her hand confidently. Sir, if I may ask, will your son sooner or later arrive? Leader Bernard smiled faintly. Very soon. Jessica nodded proudly, turning to her friends with a face that said, you see, it is almost time. But deep down, Sandra sat quietly nonetheless, listening. Nevertheless, calm. She wasn't trying to electrify absolutely everyone. She wasn't even thinking about Leader Bernard's son. All she knew, because she had paintings to do. Leader Bernard raised his hand. This meeting is now over. Cross returned on your obligations, but I want you all to maintain running difficult and treating one another with appreciate. This organization runs on subject and humility, no longer pride and power. As people stood to go away, Jessica whispered to her pal, watch and spot. I'll be madam quickly. All these humans will bow to me. But Larry, who stood quietly by way of the door as part of the safety group, heard every unmarried word. He remained expressionless, retaining the door open for everybody to stroll out. When Sandra handed, she smiled politely. Thanks. You are welcome, Ma. Larry stated gently, but whilst Jessica walked past, she flipped her hair and said not anything. She acted like he become invisible. Larry turned slightly and smiled to himself. The drama is simply beginning. The next day at work, anyone was going approximately their everyday duties, while a black SUV drove into the business enterprise compound and parked inside the VIP segment. Two security men rushed to open the door. A tall, handsome guy stepped out. He changed into dressed in an easy, well-ironed shirt, darkish trousers and bright shoes, his face became smooth, and his voice was calm. He walked with self-assurance and sophistication. The staff at the front table checked out him amazed. "Suitable morning," he stated with a warm smile. "I'm right here to peer the body of workers." I turned in to ask to file to the conference room. Soon a message went out again. "All team of workers please record to the convention room. The brand new representative has arrived." Anybody rushed in with excitement and curiosity. The good-looking man entered the room slowly and stood at the front. The room became quiet as everybody waited for him. "To speak accurate morning, everybody," he started out. "My name is Mr. Raymond. I've been asked to represent Chief Bernard. Whilst he is away, I will be working closely with each department, ensuring the entirety continues to run smoothly. Until the chief's son returns." The group of workers clapped softly. "I trust in teamwork, appreciate, and peace," Mr. Raymond added. "So let's paintings together and make this agency even greater after the short advent." He smiled once more and left the convention room as quickly as he walked out. Jessica turned to her quality friend and whispered excitedly, "Ah, have a look at this guy, so good-looking and clean like morning bread." Her pal giggled. "Jessica, I idea you have been looking forward to Leader Bernard's son. Have you modified your mind already?" Jessica flipped her hair and rolled her eyes. "Who said I cannot have two? If the son takes time, I will manage Mr. Raymond." For now, they both laughed. But Sandra, who overheard them, shook her head quietly and left the room. She whispered to herself, "A few human beings can in no way exchange." Meanwhile, Larry had additionally been watching from the return of the room. He smiled as he noticed how Jessica's eyes were shining like torch mild. The moment Mr. Raymond stepped in, "So now she desires to follow Mr. Raymond too," Larry muttered to himself. "This female is just shifting with the wind." As each person lowered back to their duties, Jessica already had a plan in her head. "I should discover a manner to talk to this Mr. Raymond. If I can't find the real son, yet this one is just as great and probable richer." Later that nighttime, after paintings, the business enterprise compound was quiet. Most of the personnel had long passed home. Larry stood by means of the gate pretending to check the security register. However, his heart changed into beating fast. For days now, he had been watching Sandra quietly. Her kindness, her smile, her calm spirit, it had touched something deep in his heart. "I must tell her nowadays," he thought. "I cannot preserve it anymore." Just then he saw her taking walks out of the building, geared up to go domestic. He collected braveness quick and called out softly, "Sandra." She grew to become and smiled. "Sure." Larry walked nearer, attempting not to show his anxiousness. "Am I able to talk to you just for a couple of minutes?" Sandra stopped and nodded. "Okay." They walked to a quiet corner. Larry looked into her eyes and finally spoke. "I don't know how to mention this," he started, "but I need to, Sandra. I sincerely, such as you. In fact, I like you. I understand I'm only a safety man. I might not have much, however my heart is real. Please, will you be my lady friend?" Sandra stared at him quietly, her eyes extensive. Larry's heart became beating louder than drums. However, then something terrific occurred. Sandra smiled. "I really like you too, Larry," she stated softly. Larry become bold. "Over you do?" "Yes." She nodded. "I preferred you from the primary day I noticed you. But I become looking ahead to you to say it first. I did not need to appearance too ahead. It's guys who are supposed to mention I love you first." Larry smiled from ear to ear. "Honestly, you have been waiting all this even as." "Yes." Sandra laughed shyly. "I even used to face by the window and watch you from my workplace. I favored the way you stood on the gate, always severe, always polite." Larry laughed. "And right here I was questioning. I used to be just wasting time." But Sandra delivered. "There's one problem." Larry sighed. "Sure, I realize what you need to mention. What about Leader Bernard's son? If he reveals out we're dating, he won't like it, and he will get us fired." Sandra seemed into his eyes and stated boldly, "I don't care." Larry blinked. "You don't?" "No." She said, "If we lose our jobs because of love, we are able to find any other task someplace else. However, finding true love is not clean. I don't want to throw this away." Larry's heart melted. Sandra endured. "You don't act like other men. You are calm, respectful, humble. You make me feel secure. That's what I need." Larry stepped closer and held her fingers gently. "Thank you for accepting me, Sandra. You do not know how glad I am proper now." Sandra smiled. "However, one issue, what's it permits hold this dating personal, at least for now." She said the office is complete of gossipers, particularly that Jessica female. If she reveals out, she will scatter the whole thing. Larry laughed. "You are right, we'll keep it between us." Sandra nodded. "Promise me you may not let anyone recognize yet." "I promise," Larry stated, elevating his hand like a scout. "It's simply you and me." They each laughed and walked slowly closer to the gate. Sandra grew to become and checked out him again. "So we are formally boyfriend and girlfriend now?" Larry grinned. "Yes, we are, and agree with me. This is simply the beginning." Sandra smiled. "I'm equipped." As she walked away, Larry stood there smiling like a man who simply received $1 million jackpot. She said sure. She surely stated yes. Weeks later, matters in Bernard Group of corporations had changed, but nobody became speaking openly. Sandra and Larry have been now secretly in love. Each time Sandra exceeded the security submit, Larry's face could light up. They exchanged mystery smiles, shared brief glances, or even exceeded quick notes when no person became looking. They had been cautious, very careful. Larry turned into the happiest guy alive, but at the same time as proper love turned into developing quietly something else, something dark, become also occurring. Jessica, the identical girl who was expecting Chief Bernard's son, had now found herself deeply concerned with Mr. Raymond, the new transient corporation consultant. It started out with informal compliments. "Mr. Raymond, I love your shoes," Jessica would say with her fine fake smile. "Thank you." Omit Jessica. He might reply with courtesy. Then she started bringing him espresso in the morning, just that will help you start your day earlier than lengthy. She become going to his workplace every afternoon to check if he wanted anything, and someday Raymond failed to stop her that night. Jessica instructed her, "Fine pal, with pleasure. Raymond and I have a mystery aspect now." Her pal's mouth dropped open. What about leader Bernard's son?" Jessica rolled her eyes. "Please, I haven't seen that one. I don't even realize what he looks like." This Raymond, this is in my hand, is satisfactory, clever, and wealthy. If I seize the leader's son later, I will simply manage the two of them collectively." "Jessica, that's horrific," her friend whispered. "Who cares?" Jessica responded. "All I recognize is I must marry into wealth. I'm too best to suffer on this lifestyles." What Jessica didn't recognize changed into that Mr. Raymond changed into not an idiot. He changed into watching her closely too. He failed to accept as true with her, but he turned into gambling along due to the fact he became operating directly for Chief Bernard and Larry. Jessica started out to grow suspicious. Every time she saw Sandra on foot past the gate, she observed how Sandra constantly smiled at Larry. One afternoon, Jessica stood by means of the window and watched intently. Why is she always smiling at that safety boy? She idea, is something taking place among them? That nighttime, she informed her purifier friend again. "I need you to comply with that safety boy. I'm not feeling smooth there. Maybe something approximately him, and I should find out what it is." "But madam," the purifier spoke back nervously. "What if he catches me?" Jessica hissed. "Do not be a coward. Do you want cash? Or not?" "Sure, madam." "Then comply with him and inform me the whole lot." "He does." The cleaner nodded. Speedy. "Sure, madam, I'm able to do it." She waited patiently for the proper time. Then one evening after work, when most of the people had long gone domestic, she accompanied Larry quietly without being visible. She hid behind a small wall close to the back gate that changed into, while she saw it, Larry and Sandra have been standing near speaking softly, after which they kissed. The cleanser gasped. She fast covered her mouth, returned to the building, and left without being observed. The subsequent morning, Jessica turned into already awaiting her. So Jessica asked the moment the purifier arrived, "Did you see anything?" The purifier seemed around, then whispered, "Madam, I noticed something large." Jessica leaned in. "Talk." "I noticed that protection guy kissing Sandra at the back of the constructing the day past." Jessica jumped up from her seat. "What, you noticed them?" "Sure," the cleaner stated, "with my two eyes, their relationship secretly." Jessica's face became red with anger. "I knew it. That vain lady has been pretending like she's innocent. And that boy, oh, he thinks he is smart." The cleanser nodded. "Madam, you need to record her to Chief Bernard. Sandra have to be fired. And that security guy too." I do not like both of them. Jessica stood up. Pacing the room, sure I'm able to record them in reality. I'll cross directly to the chief's residence today. I will inform him everything. She turned to the cleanser. Don't inform all of us else what you noticed. I may not, madam, my mouth is sealed. Jessica smiled. Wickedly suitable, very soon the ones can be jobless. Later that day at the workplace, Sandra turned into within the HR department arranging a few files while Jessica stormed in like a lioness. She slammed the door and pointed at Sandra. I, in the end, caught you, she shouted. Sandra appeared up frivolously. What's it this time? Jessica laughed and crossed her palms. I have your mystery. I recognize your relationship. That bad security boy, don't attempt to disclaim it. I saw you two kissing in the back of the constructing. Sandra raised one eyebrow. And so Jessica's eyes widened. And so I can tell Leader Bernard the whole lot. You will be fired. And that useless boyfriend of yours might be kicked out of the gate like a stray dog. Sandra lightly dropped her pen and stood up. Jessica, I'm now not frightened of you in reality. In case you open your mouth to speak to Leader Bernard, I will additionally open mine. Jessica stepped, returned a chunk. What do you imply? I recognize about your secret affair with Mr. Raymond. Sandra stated boldly. I've visible the manner you sneak into his office and close the door. I've heard the manner you go away his house at night, whilst you assume no one is watching. Jessica's mouth dropped open. Sandra continued, so cross in advance. File me and I may even document you. Let's examine who Chief Bernard will sack first. Jessica hissed loudly. You may do nothing. You are just a church rat pretending to be humble. When I marry the leader's son, you and that your poverty-smelling boyfriend will be long gone. Finished. Sandra laughed. You and this marriage that has not occurred, it is simplest in your head. Jessica's voice rose. You're dating a gate guy. No one have a look at you. You watched. You're smart. You will remorse this. Sandra stood calmly, fingers crossed. Then she stated, permit me inform you something. Jessica, a canine that chases bones right now will lose both. You're busy chasing Raymond and chasing Chief's son. At some point, both of them will leave you with empty palms and a broken coronary heart. Jessica's mouth shook with anger. Sandra stepped nearer. You observed. I'm ashamed of Larry. That guy has more experience than all the faux rich boys put together. I am no longer interested by Leader's son. And to prove it, she added out her phone, dialed various, and positioned the phone on speaker. Howdy, sir. Excellent afternoon, Sandra stated respectfully. Leader Bernard's voice got here through. Sandra properly. Afternoon. How are you? I'm exceptional, sir. Please, I known as to tell you respectfully that I'm no longer inquisitive about your son. I discovered a person else. I am in love with Larry. There was silence for 2 seconds. Then Chief Bernard spoke back lightly. No hassle at all, my dear. I admire your honesty. I'd like to see you in my residence this weekend. Sandra smiled. Thanks for your know-how, sir. I will be there. The call ended. Jessica was frozen in shock. You referred to as him. Sandra nodded. Sure, I don't hide like some people. Just then Jessica's smartphone rang. She picked it up and saw Chief Bernard's name. She replied quickly, hey sir. Leader's voice got here through. Jessica, I'd also like to see you in my residence this weekend. Jessica almost jumped. Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. I may be there. She ended the decision and danced on one spot. Yes. Ultimately, Leader's son is back. My destiny husband is domestic. I cannot wait to marry him and cope with you and your gate guy boyfriend. Sandra laughed and stated, you do not know when you're being invited for your very own disgrace. Jessica hissed, watch and spot. Sandra shook her head and dropped the final blow. You daughter of a wayward mother, you watched. I don't know your tale how your mother got pregnant for any other man while still married for your father. This is the kind of blood running for your veins that is why you could chase men and nonetheless lie with satisfaction. Jessica screamed. Shut up, you daughter of a no one. However, Sandra remained calm. Allow me come up with one last parable. Jessica, a monkey that thinks it is wiser than the hunter will at some point end up in Pepper Soup Pass, and write it down. Jessica stood there shaking her face, complete of shame and anger. The conflict line have been drawn. However, best one woman would go away that weekend together. With her head held high, Saturday morning came at Chief Bernard's mansion. In the big living room, Chief Bernard sat in his armchair sporting a white abaya and crimson cap. A pitcher of clean juice rested on the desk beside him. He appeared relaxed. But excited beside him sat his most effective son Larry, but no longer in a safety uniform today. He turned into wearing quality clothes, a pointy dressmaker, blouse, gold wristwatch, and clean shoes. That sparkled. He gave the look of a true gentleman. He smiled at his father. These days is the day, Dad. Chief Bernard nodded proudly. Yes, my son, these days. Fact will communicate for itself. A few minutes later, the gate opened, and Sandra arrived. She became dressed in an easy but elegant gown. Her herbal splendor shined without too much makeup. She walked gracefully, carrying peace with each step. A maid opened the door for her and led her into the dwelling room. Exact afternoon, sir, she greeted with a deferential bow. Chief Bernard stood and hugged her warmly. Sandra, my daughter, you are welcome. Larry additionally stood up, smiling. Hi there, you made it. Sandra became, and her eyes widened in surprise. Larry. She stared at his pricey outfit and clean appearance. He failed to appear like the safety guy she knew. He gave the look of a person from a mag cowl. What is occurring? She asked, harassed. Leader Bernard smiled. Sandra, meet my son, Dr. Larry Bernard. Yes, the equal guy you knew as the humble protection shield. Sandra blanketed her mouth in shock. You suggest all this time you were Leader's son? Larry stepped nearer and gently took her fingers. Yes. I needed to recognize who would like me without cash. And Sandra, you cherished me as I used to be. Tears crammed Sandra's eyes, but they were satisfied tears. I don't even know what to say, she whispered. I am happy. I accompanied my coronary heart. Chief Bernard smiled proudly. You handed the check, my pricey. Abruptly, the sound of loud heels echoed through the hallway. The front door opened extensive, and in walked Jessica, dressed in a purple, get dressed tighter than her pleasure. Her gold earrings have been nearly touching her shoulders. Her makeup gave the look of she painted her face with a brush. She walked in like a queen, twisting her waist back and forth. Suitable afternoon, Daddy, she stated sweetly. Chief Bernard compelled a grin. Welcome, Jessica, please have a seat. Jessica sat down, crossing her legs like she already owned the house. Her eyes scanned the room. Then she noticed Larry. She iced over, her smile become a frown. What is that this dirty safety man doing here? She shouted, pointing at Larry, who gave him fine clothes. Is this a joke? Larry checked out her flippantly and smiled. Pleasant to look you two, Jessica. She stood up and looked at Leader Bernard. Sir, what's occurring here? Why is this gate guy sitting in your property like an essential individual? Leader Bernard smiled. Without speaking, Jessica turned again to Larry. Why are you dressed like this? Who gave you these kinds of exceptional clothes? Don't inform me you are attempting to impress Leader so he can give you a higher job. Sandra folded her hands and smiled. The drama was sweet. Jessica hissed and faced Leader again. Sir, I came here to sooner or later meet your son. I am geared up to be a wife. Please inform this protection man to depart. He is smelling up the location. Larry stood up. You want to meet Leader Bernard's son? He requested. Jessica nodded. Sure, that's why I am here. Larry took a leap forward. Then allow me to introduce myself. I am health practitioner Larry Bernard, the best son of Leader Bernard, the same guy you insulted, regarded down on, and mocked. Jessica's bag fell from her hand. She stepped back slowly, her mouth open, extensive. What you? That is impossible. It's very possible, Sandra said with a grin. Now, you've seen the real face of the person you called dirty. Jessica became to Chief Bernard. Sir, please inform me. He is mendacity. Leader Bernard stood. He is now not lying. This is my son. You failed to take a look at Jessica. Jessica's eyes filled with panic. Please, I didn't realize if I had regarded this is the problem. Larry interrupted. You only appreciate humans when you recognize they've money. You by no means cared. Approximately the coronary heart, simplest the pockets. Leader Bernard added, you insulted my son, lied to my face, and even spoke badly. Approximately my late spouse. You are not suited to be a part of this family. Jessica dropped to her knees. Please, sir, forgive me. I was determined. I thought he turned into a nobody. Larry appeared at Sandra and smiled properly. She noticed me as no person and loved me nevertheless. And now she has the entirety. Jessica cried, crawling nearer. Please, Larry, simply one extra hazard. No, he said firmly. This is the end of your recreation. Chief Bernard, known as a shield from the hallway, display her to the gate because the guard walked her out. Jessica turned and screamed, Sandra, you witch, you stole him from me. Sandra laughed softly. No, Jessica, you lost him all via yourself. Then she added calmly, a silly fowl that flies, and not using a path, will land within the hunter's pot. You flew too excessive, and now you've got fallen. Jessica stormed out defeated and damaged inside the house. Peace back, Chief Bernard became to Sandra and smiled. My daughter, welcome to the circle of relatives. Larry held her hand tightly. It's you I pick all the time. 1 week later, Leader Bernard's mansion became filled with lighting, song, and flowers. But his employees and circle of relatives, individuals, gathered beneath a adorned cover. It wasn't a marriage, yet it became a marvel proposal. Sandra failed to recognize she notion. She become just coming for a small party. However, as she walked into the garden, she saw every person standing. The lighting dimmed, and smooth tracks started playing. Then Larry walked out, conserving a microphone. He seemed so handsome in his black fit, with a rose in his hand. Sandra. He began smiling. The day I met you, I was a gate man, but you handled me like a king. He walked nearer. You reputable me smiled at me, gave me cold water on a hot day. You noticed my heart earlier than you saw my call. And that is why today he dropped to at least one knee and opened a small box. I want to invite you in the front of the arena. Will you marry me? Sandra's eyes full of tears. She covered her mouth, shaking, then shouted, sure, sure. Absolutely. Everyone clapped and cheered. Larry stood up, placed the ring on her finger, and hugged her tightly. Leader Bernard smiled proudly. It's my son. 3 months later, the wedding of the 12 months happened in Lagos. Sandra and Larry stood earlier than God, friends, and circle of relatives, and said their vows. It became lovely, complete of laughter, tears of joy, and praises. Jessica. She tried to crash the marriage, carrying black shades and pretend smiles. But Chief Bernard's guards stopped her on the gate. You are now not invited, they stated. She walked away in shame, knowing she had lost the nice component she in no way valued. 1 year later, Larry and Sandra welcomed their first baby, a child boy. They named him David, which means cherished. Sandra now controlled one of the employer branches. She turned into respected, cherished, and celebrated. As for Jessica, she later discovered she was pregnant for Mr. Raymond, the equal workplace representative. She turned into secretly dozing with at the same time as pretending to love Chief Bernard's son. When she went to his house to tell him the information, the gate man said, Madam, Mr. Raymond no longer lives here. He has moved overseas with his wife and kids. Jessica stood there frozen. She could not breathe. Her fingers shook. She walked away with tears in her eyes. No process, no man, no cash, and now a child on the manor. She sat alone via the roadside, whispering to herself, I had a hazard, I messed it up, now I have nothing. It changed into two past. Do all she had left changed into remorse. Expensive viewers, what lessons did you dispose of from this dramatic story? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you loved the tale, deliver us a thumbs up, share it with buddies, and hit that subscribe button. Keep in mind to turn on notifications so that you never omit out on our modern day updates. Thanks for watching and live blessed.